So we basically have covered every episode of the Critic of the TV show, but there is one more season, if you will. It's kind of a long story, but basically what happened is that, despite the fact that the Critic was getting a large chunk of the lead out from The Simpsons, Fox basically decided, you know, hey, we don't own this show, we don't want to pay for another season, so we're going to cancel the show. But we're not going to cancel it so you can go find somewhere else to get it, to send it to, because apparently there were 9 episodes that were ready to go for UPN when they were going to pick that up, but UPN never picked it up, and Fox canceled the show very late into the time that the show was still in their hands. Like, they didn't even give them a chance to go anywhere, because they kept hovering around that maybe, just maybe, there might be a chance. But apparently the new heads at Fox did not like the show, and so they just quietly canceled it, and it went away after that point. But then it came back a little bit later, largely thanks to what was going on at Comedy Central when they picked up the rerun rights to the show, and had a pretty good, successful second life there. The show ran there for a large number of years, I think almost 10 years, and that was my first introduction to the show, was through Comedy Central and the reruns on there, and it made me want to go check out the show more. And so because of that success, there was actually webisodes produced by AdamFilms.com and Shockwave.com, which came out in 2000, just before the infamous .com bubble burst. But you have a series of 10 3 to 5 minute episodes of The Critic, still with John Lovitz as a starring role, and you still have them making fun of movies in Hollywood in general. Its story focuses, though, on Jay lusting after his new makeup lady named Jennifer, played by Valerie Levitt, or as I kind of like to refer to her as the early 2000s millennial girlfriend, because she does not have any good chemistry whatsoever. We'll delve into that in just a second here. So you might be wondering, where's Alice? She's nowhere to be found. In fact, where is everybody? Where's Franklin? Where's Eleanor? Where's Marty? Where's Margot? Where's Jeremy? Where's Duke? Where's Doris? Where's Lotta? Well, they're nowhere to be found, except for one character, but we'll get to him in just a second. And even then, he's not really in it for a whole lot. But yeah, the big thing in this episode, from the first episode, that takes you out of it right away, is the fact that Jay briefly mentions that he had a second divorce in the first episode, presumably either from her, or it could have been the Mexican woman he married in order to get the Cuba to see Marty, get Marty back in the third episode of the show, Marty's first date. But besides Jay, Vlada, voiced by Nick Jameson, is the only other character from the show to make an appearance. Maurice LaMarche and Tress McNear are the only other cast members to return as well. They voiced a lot of background characters. And like I said, these were available on the websites, adamfilms.com and Shockwave, until 2001. And then once the DVD came out, they were all on the complete series set. And you have all these different parodies. You know, you have parodies of the movies that were coming out at the time, like you had The Patriot, Harry Potter, Mission Impossible 2, X-Men, Pearl Harbor, Castaway, you name it. And, how do I put this? While the webisodes can still be funny at times, mostly with its parodies, needless to say, this was definitely an inferior product compared to the first 2 seasons, you know? The writing just didn't seem to be as sharp or as hilarious as the regular show was. Plus, at only 3 to 5 minutes per episode, it's really hard to come up with your best A material that's worthy of the original series. But probably my biggest problem with the series was, of course, Jay's relationship with Jennifer. And like I said before, I just didn't really feel like they were well established as a couple. I mean, she's not really a well-written character per se. She's just there to be the love interest to this character. And, I don't know, like, I didn't feel like their relationship worked all the way through. I never really bought them together as a couple. Like, you know, even with Jay's time with Ardith, his first ex-wife, there was at least some spark that they had back in the day when they were together. You could still buy that they still have somewhat of a relationship, even though she hates his guts. But, and more importantly, Alice leaving Jay just makes no sense whatsoever. I cannot imagine Jay and Alice getting divorced. I mean, they were too good of a couple in that second season, and, you know, Alice took up with a lot of Jay's crazy antics in the second season. Like, I mean, there was many moments where she could have been like, yeah, this isn't working out, but the fact that she stuck around, she made him a better person, and in a different way, Jay made her a better person, too. that just peeved me off more, that this show had the balls to say that it's just basically a one-line joke to explain that, hey, Jay and Alice aren't together anymore, so we can make this relationship work. And it's just like, it just doesn't make any sense. And then again, the argument can be made that Jay's second divorce was actually with the Mexican woman who only married Jay for citizenship back in Marty's first date. But even with that said, why would Jay still be pursuing her if she was still married to Alice then? That would make Jay even worse of a human being, because he's essentially having an affair and is an adulterer at this point. So basically, bottom line is that this relationship pretty much ended just on that one line. So we could say that, hey, it's okay for him to go after this woman because they're no longer together. And I'm sorry, like I said, she's not an interesting character. She's just there to be the love interest. She's just there to be Jay's love interest in there, and there's nothing funny or interesting about her. It's not that the woman isn't trying to act, and it's just I didn't feel like they wrote her well enough, and I don't think they really intended to, because like I said, you don't really have a lot of time to come up with your best A material if you're only writing for 3 to 5 minutes an episode. And now with that said, there wasn't anything necessarily wrong with Jennifer as a whole, but like, she seems like a nice person, but I just wish they gave her something more to do besides just being the love interest right off the bat. I mean, if you like doing a Mickey Mouse series where Mickey and Minnie had split up and Mickey is now dating Daisy Duck and, you know, Minnie's dating Donna, or Goofy for that matter, but it just feels weird on so many levels. And again, the webisodes were not terrible, but the parodies, even the parodies themselves, the ones that are actually funny, are not laugh out loud hilarious. Like, you'll still remember stuff like, you know, Home Alone 5, Rabbi P.I., you know, the Star Trek, the Star Trek, Beavis, the Star Trek crossovers they've done, Apocalypse Wow, you know, the Cockroach King, Speed Dating, you know, Beverly Hills Robo, Dino, Cop and a Half 2. Like, those are the ones that you will still remember from the TV show. Here, let me put it this way. The first episode has a parody of X-Men, and it's literally called XYZ Men. And guess what the one joke is? It's the X-Men, except their zippers are down. They realize that and just like, oh, XYZ Men, zip it up. That's a joke right there. And like I said, the jokes really aren't written that well at all. Like, there's another episode where Arnold Schwarzenegger just shows up on Jay's set and basically says, "You pan all my movies. I'm not leaving until you say one good thing about my movies." Like, do you not remember there was an episode in the second season where the Jean-Claude Van Damme lookalike was literally going to send somebody going out to go kill Jay, even though it eventually later on turned out to be a part on him to get him to like him more. But at the same time, you still believe that more than you believe anything that came out of what Arnold Schwarzenegger was saying in that episode. And like I said, everything just felt off. It just really, really felt off. Like, the show outside the parodies just wasn't up to par with the rest of the show. Like, you can watch the first 2 seasons of The Critic and realize this is a love letter to not just New York, but to movies, you know, to entertainment in general, to what was popular at the time. I mean, it just wasn't there. When it was the parodies, it's fine, but as far as the rest of the show goes, it was just a very, very mixed bag of an episode, down to the fact that they're hardly tolerable to watch. Like, I really never really had a true interest in going back to watching them as many times as I do with the original series. Like, I'll still watch the original series over and over and over again, because despite those webisodes, The Critic really is one of my all-time favorite shows on so many levels. And the biggest reason of them all, it's one of my favorite TV shows because it was one of the things that inspired me to get into film reviewing in the first place. First time I ever saw the show, and I knew that this was what I wanted to do with my life. Reviewing movies at the same time, maybe not going to the levels of how Jay reviews his movies, pretty much hating everyone he's paid to review it, even though a lot of the ones there are ones that probably would fit that criteria. But this is when I saw the show, it made me realize that this is what I wanted to do with my life. And yeah, The Critic has had a reception that has been nowhere near the levels of The Simpsons and Family Guy, but more people are coming around to it. And this show was very much an influential show on its own rights, because it showed that the shows like The Simpsons and The Flintstones weren't just one-trick ponies. Stuff like Beavis and Butthead weren't just one-trick ponies. Like, you get real talented people who know what they're doing. You don't try to create your own Simpson-style success with whatever animated show you can, and the results will make into a really entertaining show. And shortly after this, we got King of the Hill, We got Daria, we got South Park, we got Family Guy, Futurama, The PJs, Mission Hill, all these great animated shows, Dilbert, all these great animated shows that came from, it started with the Critic showing the studios, hey, here's how you do it. Here's how you make this work and appeal to a large amount of people, and not trying to copy the formula that's already worked with The Simpsons, and even something that goes all the way back with the Flintstones. Like, it really is one of the best and smartly written TV shows I've ever seen. If you haven't seen the series, you really owe it to yourself to check it out. Like, this is one of those things I wish they could bring back, because think about what they could do with all the movies that have come out since the series ended, how trends of movies have certainly changed. The Critic still plays out today just as well as it did in the 90s. And yeah, sure, the series would have probably lost a lot of its punch, much like The Simpsons did for a little bit, but if the writing's still just as sharp and funny, and the effort was still put in there to actually put a lot of effort into it, I mean, I could definitely see the show going for another good revival run if somebody gave it a chance. I mean, I think even John Lovitz has kind of passed on the idea that this show could come back. Because I actually did, when I actually got an autograph of my copy of the Critic on DVD, and I asked him about it, and he kind of said the same thing, like, you know, it's kind of gotten past the point where it'd be fun to do again, but it probably wouldn't be. It's more than likely not going to happen, and I was, you know, it's a little disappointing to hear that, but hey, you know what? He's got a point. Like I said before, the series probably would have lost a lot of its punch, like I said before, with what The Simpsons had to go through at several points in its run, But yeah, it still has a lot of potential if somebody was willing to go in there and actually do something with it, with the way the entertainment industry has changed over the years. Like, there's still a lot you can do with this show, but hey, you know what? If we never get another season, I'll be upset about it, but it's not going to kill me, because we do have 2 really great seasons of a show that definitely deserves a lot more attention than I think it got back then. And I'm glad to see that it is building back up again, the love of this show. As it stands, The Critic is still one of the best classic TV shows out there that you probably have never seen. It deserves its strong cult following. It's one of the best animated shows ever. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a major disservice by missing out on it. So let me just say one last time, happy 30th anniversary to The Critic, a show that certainly does not stink.
It stinks!
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
But I have nowhere to go.